Welcome, boys and girls, to the NFL Week 5 recap video presented to you by the Sports Fanatic. Excuse me if I sound a little different today. I am sick and recording this at 2 in the morning. But, gotta get the recap out there. We're going to start with the games that weren't so close. Surprisingly, in the NFL, there were a lot of interesting games this week. The Jaguars actually handled the Steelers. I believe the Steelers' Ben Roethlisberger threw 5 interceptions. It may have been 4. Very ugly game for them. Very clean game for the Jaguars as they're up to 3-2. They won that game 30-9. The Eagles handled the Cardinals pretty easily. Gave them a 34-7 beating. The Ravens, who've had some questionable games so far this year, actually handled the Raiders pretty nicely. And they got that win 30-17. Beyond this, the rest of the games are actually pretty close. We're going to start with the Patriots and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Patriots held on to a 13-7 lead at halftime. They kicked a field goal in the third quarter. They were up 16-7. With 2 minutes left, the Buccaneers were able to score a touchdown to make it a 3-point game at 16-14. And then the Patriots kicked a field goal to lead 19-14, gave it right back to the Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers in field goal range fall short at the 19-yard line. And since they're unable to score a touchdown, the Patriots get the win 19-14. So that extra field goal they tacked on in the last 2 minutes was crucial. The New York Jets played the Cleveland Browns. The game was actually tied 0-0 after the first quarter. The Jets knocked in a 57-yard field goal to give them the only points of the first half. They led 3-0 at halftime. Both teams put up a touchdown in the third quarter, and the Jets still led 10-7. Jets scored a touchdown 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They led 17-7. The Browns got a touchdown with 2 minutes left to make it only 17-14, but the Jets held on to get a 17-14 victory. Carolina Panthers and the Detroit Lions. They both kicked a field goal. They were tied 3-3 after the first quarter. The Panthers had a nice lead of 17-10 at halftime. Panthers got 10 more points, and they had a big lead of 27-10 after the third quarter. The Lions scored a garbage touchdown with 6 minutes left to make it 27-17. Then they came right back with 3:28 left to score another touchdown to make it 27-24. But they weren't able to do the epic comeback, and the Panthers still locked it up 27-24. The San Francisco 49ers played the Indianapolis Colts. Both teams were busy kicking field goals, and the game was tied 6-6 at halftime. The Colts had a nice third quarter, and they had a 16-6 lead. The Niners kicked a field goal at the beginning of the fourth quarter. They were down 16-9. The Colts then scored a touchdown with 10 minutes left to lead 23-9. The Niners followed it up with a touchdown almost immediately after with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They were still down 23-16. And with 24 seconds left, the 49ers score a touchdown to tie the game 23-23. In overtime, the Colts were actually 8 yards away from scoring, but they would have to end the game with a touchdown. If they had a field goal, then they would be giving the Niners a shot. And they actually threw a dramatic interception 8 yards away from scoring. But the 49ers did actually punt. They weren't able to capitalize. And Adam Vinatieri kicked a 51-yard field goal for the win, giving the Colts a 26-23 victory. The Tennessee Titans played the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins had a 10-0 lead after the first quarter. Titans kicked a field goal, but the Dolphins still led 10-3 at half. The Titans then scored a touchdown to tie the game 10-10. The Dolphins scored a touchdown with 10:38 left, but they actually missed the extra point, so they only had a 16-10 lead, and the Titans had to score a touchdown, but if they did, they were probably going to win. Titans get the ball twice more. They can't score either time. Dolphins hold on to win 16-10. The Buffalo Bills played against the Cincinnati Bengals this week. The game was tied 10-10 at half. The Bills kicked a field goal in the third quarter to lead 13-7, but the Bengals scored a touchdown on the first play of the fourth quarter, and they led 17-13. The Bills then kicked a field goal with 9 minutes left to only be down 1 point, 17-16. The Bengals then kick a field goal with 3 minutes left to give their lead 20-16. The Bills throw an interception on their next possession to seal the Bengals' victory, 2016. The Los Angeles Chargers played against the New York Giants. One of them was bound to no longer be winless. The Giants led 9-0 after the first quarter, but the Chargers stormed back to lead 10-9 at half. Both teams scored a touchdown in the third quarter, and the Chargers held on to their 1-point lead, 17-16. The Giants scored a touchdown near the beginning of the fourth quarter. They surged into the lead, 22-17. The Chargers kicked a field goal with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They were still down 22-20. Then the Chargers get the ball right back, and with 3 minutes left, they score a touchdown to take the lead, 27-22. And the Giants throw an interception on their next possession, giving the Chargers a 27-22 win, a comeback win. The other Los Angeles team, the LA Rams, played the Seattle Seahawks last week. Nobody was able to score in the first quarter, and then they both had some good point scoring in the second quarter, and they were tied 10-10 at halftime. Seahawks kick a field goal to give them a 13-10 lead after the third quarter. With 1 minute left in the game, the Seahawks kicked another field goal to lead 16-10. And the Rams got into field goal range, and they weren't able to score from the 20-yard line. So that extra field goal was crucial, the way the Rams would have been able to tie the game and send it to overtime. So the Rams, short of the end zone, Seahawks get a 16-10 victory. The Green Bay Packers played against the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys had a 7-6 lead after the first quarter. The Cowboys then had a 21-12 lead at halftime. Should have been 21-14, but Packers kicker Mason Crosby missed 2 extra points, which is insane. The Packers then kick a field goal in the third quarter, but they are still down 21-15. The Packers score a touchdown on the first play of the fourth quarter and gives them a 1-point lead, 22-21. Cowboys kick a field goal with 12 minutes left. They get into the lead, 24-22. The Cowboys then throw a pick six. They're intercepted and is returned for a touchdown with 10 minutes left. The Packers score the touchdown. They go for the 2-point conversion to make it a 6-point game, and they miss. So they are only up 4 points, 28-24. The Cowboys then come right back, score a touchdown with 1 minute, 18 seconds left to put them in the lead, 31-28. And then the Packers, in field goal range, able to tie the game. So they screw that, and they score a touchdown with 16 seconds left in the game. They win 35-31 in a thrilling game. The Kansas City Chiefs played the Houston Texans. The Chiefs had a big 23-7 lead at halftime. The Chiefs still led 23-13 after the third quarter. They then kicked a field goal to lead 26-13. The Texans scored a touchdown, and they were only down by 1 touchdown, 26-20. The Chiefs then scored a touchdown, missed the 2-point conversion, and then backed it up with another touchdown to have a 39-20 lead. The Texans then scored, 39-27. Chiefs kick another field goal to make it 42-27. And the Texans actually score a touchdown on the last play of the game to make it an 8-point game, which made it register as a close game, even though it really wasn't. The Chiefs get that win, 42-34. Our last game from Monday Night Football, the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears. The Bears had a small 2-0 lead after the first quarter because of the safety. The Vikings kicked a field goal to have a bizarre 3-2 lead at half. The Vikings had a touchdown in the third quarter. The Bears backed it up with a touchdown of their own, and the Vikings scored another touchdown. And after 3 quarters of play, they had a 17-9 lead. The Bears then scored a touchdown with 12 minutes left in the game, and they secured the 2-point conversion to tie the game 17-17. The Vikings then follow that up with a field goal with 16 seconds left in the game to take the win 20-17. When people thought it were going to overtime, the Vikings with some clutch and a clutch field goal to give them a win. Now we're going to look at the top fantasy performers of the week, starting at quarterback. Deshaun Watson had another incredible week at quarterback. 261 yards passing, 31 yards rushing, and 5 passing touchdowns. for 35.5 points. Dak Prescott had a good week. 251 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 37 yards rushing with a rushing touchdown to give him 29.7 points. Carson Wentz had a very strong game. 304 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and only 1 interception along with 11 yards rushing for 27.3 points. Alex Smith had 324 passing yards and 3 touchdowns with 19 yards rushing to put him at 26.9 fantasy points. Taking a look at the running backs, Melvin Gordon from the Chargers had 105 yards on the ground, 58 yards receiving, 2 receiving touchdowns to give him 34.3 points. Leonard Fournette of the Jaguars had a big game with 181 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns for 31.4 fantasy points. Minnesota running back Jerick McKinnon had a great game with 95 rushing yards, 51 receiving yards, and a rushing touchdown for 26.6 points. Aaron Jones of Green Bay, a surprise on this list with 125 rushing yards and a touchdown for 20.4 fantasy points. Now we're going to look at the wide receivers. A.J. Green had a huge week, 189 receiving yards and a touchdown, and 1 fumble that put him under 30 points, but he had 29.9 fantasy points. DeAndre Hopkins of Houston, only 52 yards, but he caught 3 touchdown passes for a mighty 27.2 points. Antonio Brown didn't catch any touchdowns, but he had 157 receiving yards for 25.7 points. Devontae Adams from Green Bay, only 66 receiving yards, but he caught 2 touchdowns for 25.6 fantasy points. We're now going to look at the tight ends. Ed Dickson from Carolina had 175 receiving yards, a huge day for a tight end, for 22.5 points. George Kittle from San Francisco had 83 yards and a touchdown for 21.3 points. Zach Ertz from Philadelphia, 61 yards and a touchdown, good for 18.1 fantasy points. Moving on to the defense and special teams, the Jaguars led the way with 5 interceptions, 2 touchdowns defensively or special teams, 2 sacks, and they only allowed 9 points for a big 26 fantasy points. The Dolphins had 1 fumble recovery and a defensive touchdown, and 3 sacks, and they only allowed 10 points for 22 fantasy points. The Ravens defense also had a fumble recovery, a defensive touchdown, 3 sacks, and they only allowed 17 points to give them 14 fantasy points. The Seahawks defense and special teams had 2 interceptions and 2 fumble recoveries and 2 sacks, and they only allowed 10 points, worth 12 on the fantasy points. Now we're going to take a look at kickers. Harrison Butler from Kansas City went 5 for 5 on field goals and 3 for 3 on extra points. That's worth 21 fantasy points. Adam Vinatieri from Indianapolis went 4 for 4 on field goals. 2 of those field goals were big 50-plus yard field goals, and also 2 for 2 on extra points. That's worth 18 fantasy points. Steven Gostkowski of the Patriots went 4 for 4 on field goals, and he kicked an extra point to give him 15 fantasy points this week. Now we're going to circle back around and look at the top season performers to this date. Kareem Hunt leads the way at running back, followed closely by Todd Gurley. Alex Smith and Deshaun Watson are the best quarterbacks so far this season. The top wide receiver is DeAndre Hopkins. Clearly, he caught 3 touchdowns last game. So him and both Deshaun Watson are surging. The top tight end is Zach Ertz. He's having a great year. The top defense, surprisingly, is the Jaguars. And the top kicker by a mile, for now, is going to be Greg Zuerlein of the Los Angeles Rams. So those are your top performers for the 2017 season. Now we're going to take a look at the playoff odds and how the divisions are shaping up. Starting off with the AFC West. Kansas City Chiefs are sitting at 5-0. They're projected to go 13-13 this year. They are the number 1 ranked team in the NFL right now. They have a 97% chance of making the playoffs, an 85% chance of winning the division, and an 81% chance already of having that first round bye. The Denver Broncos, following closely right behind, are looking like a wild card favorite right now. They're sitting at 3-1, projected to go 10-6, ranks number 5 in the NFL. They've got a 58% chance to win the playoffs, and they're holding on to a slim 14% chance to win the AFC West. The Oakland Raiders are sitting at 2-3. They're projected only to go 7-9. They're currently ranked number 21 in the NFL. They have a 12% chance to make the playoffs, and they still have a 1% chance to win the division. The Los Angeles Chargers are sitting at 1-4. They're projected to only go 5-11. They are among the worst teams in the NFL, ranked at number 29, and they still have a small 2% chance to survive and get to the playoffs. Moving on, looking at the AFC North, the Pittsburgh Steelers are sitting at 3-2. They're projected to only go 9-7. They're ranked number 8. They have a good 61% shot of getting to the playoffs and a 50% shot of winning the division. The Baltimore Ravens also sitting at 3-2, also projected to go 9-7. They're only ranked number 16 in the NFL, holding on to a 52% chance to make the playoffs and a much smaller 34% chance to win the division. The Cincinnati Bengals are also lurking. They're sitting at 2-3. They're projected to go 8-8, ranked number 18 in the NFL, 26% chance to make the playoffs, 16% chance of winning the division. And the lovable Cleveland Browns are currently 0-5. Projected to only win 2 or 3 games this season, looking at a 2-14 projection, and they are ranked at the worst in the NFL. Moving on to the AFC South. The Jacksonville Jaguars are surprisingly leading the division with 3-2 record. They are projected to go 9-7, ranked number 17 in the NFL. They have a 61% chance to make the playoffs and a 48% chance to win the division. The Houston Texans are sitting at 2-3, projected to go 8-8, ranked number 20, 30% shot of making the playoffs with a 20% shot of winning their division. The Indianapolis Colts are sitting at 2-3. They are projected to go 7-9 this year. They're ranked number 25. They're holding on to a 19% chance to make the playoffs and a 13% chance to win the division. Tennessee Titans, also sitting at 2-3. They're projected to go 8-8 this year. They're ranked number 26 in the NFL with a 26% chance to make the playoffs and a 19% chance to win the division. This division's absolutely wide open. Any of these teams is probably going to finish 9-7, maybe 10-6, is going to claim the AFC South. And it is, by far, the weakest division in the NFL. The Jaguars aren't even ranked in the top half of the NFL, and they're like the toughest team in the AFC South. Moving on to the AFC East, the New England Patriots are 3-2. They're projected to go 11-5. They're the number 2 team in the NFL despite their 2 losses. They have a 79% chance to make the playoffs and a 64% chance to win the division, as well as a strong 39% chance to get a first-round bye. Right now it's looking like the Patriots and the Chiefs are going to be the 2 teams getting the bye. But the Patriots, like I said, they're sitting at 3-2. They got to turn it up at the rest of the season here. The Buffalo Bills are sitting at 3-2. They're projected to go 9-7, ranked number 13 in the NFL. They have a 44% chance to make the playoffs and a 23% chance to win the division. The Miami Dolphins are at 2-2. They're only projected to go 7-9. They're ranked number 23. They have a 16% shot of making the playoffs and a 6% shot of winning the division. The New York Jets are sitting at 3-2, but they're also projected to only go 7-9. They are only ranked number 24 in the NFL. And they have 18% chance to make the playoffs, along with a 7% chance to win the division. So both the Dolphins and the Jets are holding on, but they aren't looking that good, especially with the Bills being a real strong contender for the wild card. Moving right along to the NFC West. In the NFC now, we've got the Seattle Seahawks leading this division at 3-2. They're projected to have a 10-6 year. They're ranked number 6 in the NFL. 70% shot of making the playoffs, 63% shot of winning the division. And they're in the mix for a first-round bye with a 21% shot of getting a bye. The Arizona Cardinals are sitting at 2-3, but they're projected to go 8-8, ranked number 22. They have a 28% shot of the playoffs and a 23% shot at the division. The Los Angeles Rams are surprisingly 3-2, but they are still projected to go 8-8, and they are ranked among the worst in the NFL at number 27. And they have a 22% shot of making the playoffs and a 14% shot of winning the division. And out of the mix already, with a less than 1% chance of making the playoffs, the San Francisco 49ers are sitting at 0-5, projected to go 3-13. They are competing with the Browns to be the worst team in the NFL. So they are the 31st ranked team. The NFC North has the Green Bay Packers sitting at 4-1, projected to go 11-5, ranked number 4 in the NFL. You have an 81% chance to make the playoffs, a 63% chance to win the division, and a 45% chance of securing that first round bye. The Detroit Lions coming in right behind him at 3-2, projected to go 9-7. They're actually ranked number 10 in the NFL, with a 46% chance to make the playoffs and a 23% chance to win the division. The Minnesota Vikings are 3-2 as well. They're projected to go 9-7. They're ranked number 15 in the NFL. They have a 34% chance to win the playoffs and a 14% chance to win the division. Chicago Bears at a pathetic 1-4. They're still projected to go 5-11. They're ranked number 30 in the NFL, so they are the next best team after the Niners and Browns. And they're holding on to a little 1% chance of making the playoffs. The NFC South, probably the best division in the NFL right now, starts off with the Atlanta Falcons at 3-1. They are projected to go 11-5. They are the number 3 team in the NFL. They have a 72% chance to make the playoffs, a 48% chance to win this division, and a strong 34% chance to secure a bye. The Carolina Panthers are actually at 4-1. They're projected to go 10-6. They're the number 9 team in the NFL. They have a 60% chance to make the playoffs, 31% chance of winning the division, and they have a 21% chance of getting the bye. The New Orleans Saints are sitting at 2-2. They're projected to go 8-8. They're number 12 in the NFL, which is solid. They have a 34% chance to make the playoffs and a 15% chance to win the division. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, all the way down at 4th place in this division, they are 2-2. They're only projected to go 7-9, and they're only ranked number 19 in the NFL. But they still have a 15% shot at the playoffs and a 6% shot at winning this competitive division. And finally, the NFC East. The Philadelphia Eagles are 4-1. They're projected to go 11-5. They're currently ranked number 7 in the NFL. They have a 78% chance of the playoffs, a 67% chance of winning this division. Yeah, 35% shot and a first-round bye. So, unlike the AFC, there's a lot of teams that are mixing it up and have a chance at the bye. A lot of good-looking teams. The Dallas Cowboys coming in right behind them at 2-3. They're projected to only go 8-8 this year. They are number 11 in the NFL with a solid 25% shot to make the playoffs still and a 16% chance to win the division. Also in the mix to win the division, the Washington Redskins are 2-2. They're projected to go 8-8. They're ranked number 14, right around the middle of the NFL. They have a 32% shot to make the playoffs and a 16% shot of winning the division. And the New York Giants, I believe they are one of 3 teams to have yet to get a victory, sitting at 0-5, projected to only go 4-12. They're ranked number 28 in the NFL. So they're not ranked as one of the worst teams. They're the 4th worst? Actually, the 5th worst. So basically, they shouldn't be 0-5. But they've gotten unlucky, and here they are. And they actually still have a 1% chance to make the playoffs. So, that is all I have for you guys this week. Thanks for sticking around and watching the recap. We'll be coming at you next week with another recap. This has been The Sports Fanatic. And remember, go forth and spread beauty and light.